Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this will be the vlog retrospective for our recent trip to Las Vegas in August 2025. So you join me at the moment here sat in Wilberforce, our motorhome. So I'm just prepping Wilberforce for a potential adventure in the north of England in a couple of weeks that we'll be looking to do. I think now that we're back in the UK, that'll be the next adventure that we potentially go on. But that's for the future, and there'll no doubt be a further vlog update about that in due course, so do watch out for it. Please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you're interested in knowing when I post that up in a couple of weeks. But August 2025, Las Vegas, that's really the main subject. So these are just a few things that have been bouncing around in my head based on sort of a lot of conversations or comments that I've heard people making in the past few weeks. So these are just my views and opinions of them. I'm no huge expert on Las Vegas. There are other people who go more regularly and are resident in Vegas who will be posting YouTube channels, but hopefully this is a perspective some of you might find of interest. Starting off with the weather. So we went in August. I think the week before, looking at the weather reports, it was 44 degrees on average. When we got there, it was sort of lower 30s on average, quite cloudy most days. I think we only had around 3 days probably of sort of clear blue skies. One of those we did manage to get by the pool, which was a bit of a saving grace. One of the taxi drivers did tell us that this August apparently has been the coldest on average for a number of years, but still plenty warm enough for anybody from the UK, I think. So not a reason not to go, just things are changing as they are in other places of the world as well, but not drastically enough to say don't go or rethink anything that you're doing there. Speaking of averages and things like that, speaking to some of the taxi drivers, the opinion is that Vegas is quieter, particularly in August this year. They were saying numbers do feel down. Some of the local news reports and things like that, they were saying were emphasizing that as well. Certainly, I think one news reporter said that average number of people through the main airport was down 6-7% from this time last year. So there is something going on, whether that's just economies and people haven't got as much money, or just people are just not seeing the attraction in Vegas anymore. I think Vegas is reinventing itself, particularly on the Strip, a little bit to be more entertainment focused with gambling rather than gambling with entertainment, if that makes sense. So there's a lot more bands, residencies, pop-ups, things like the Friends Experience and the Netflix Bites that we went to, the Sphere, of course. All those are new things to sort of give people reasons to come and visit Vegas other than just gambling for its sort of own sake, if that makes sense. Food and drink, which has always been a big thing, is still a major part of Vegas, and still lots of fantastic places to go for that. But people's priorities these days are different from mine. I grew up, Elvis, Rat Pack, the 60s, the heady days of Vegas, and that the romantic notions I have of Vegas. The reality now is, it's still there. It's just a little bit different. They don't mention Elvis or the Rat Pack as much. That heritage of Vegas is not as visible as probably you would expect it, but it's there if you go and find it out. There are still some venues that sort of pay a bit of tradition to those. They're just not on the Strip. So one of the other things a lot of people have been saying is about the casinos nickel and diming. Now, I think, again, that's just a change in economies, or economics, should I say. Like every business, they'll be feeling cost pressures. People have got to put money through the machines and through the door for them to be able to, have profit, to be able to, give rewards and freebies. And, I think they're becoming thinner in terms of the margin. So we're seeing the effect of that in terms of, the promotions and the deals are not what they used to be. I'm not sure whether that's having an effect on the drink services or not. Certainly in some of the casinos, it's slower than it's been in the past. And again, whether that's just a a reaction to trying to save some money. There certainly seemed to be a lot more ice in some of my Jack Daniels and Coke that I was having than previous years. But again, whether that's just a cost saving measure or just I was just unlucky, I'm not quite sure. But these are the things you just to be aware of. You know, it's changing. It's not as generous as it used to be. Hotel rooms, I think, is still probably where the big promotions are, because obviously that will get you through the door. But once they've got you through the door, you know, the promotions are a little bit tougher or not as generous as they used to be. The MGM slots game on the mobile phones, we've probably been using that now for a couple of years here and there. Again, the promotions through that have changed over the time we've been playing it. It's not quite as generous as it used to be. I mean, we still get things like, you know, a free appetizer, for example, the one we had at La La Noodle, or, you know, a buy one, get one cocktail or something like that. But again, they go fairly quickly. And, you know, they're not as generous as they used to be. But, you know, you keep an eye out for them. They're free at the end of the day. So if you can be prepared to spend the time and the research, again, you know, it saves you, you know, $20 here and there. It might be worthwhile doing if you want to do Vegas on more of a budget, or, you know, just give yourself an excuse to go somewhere different and experience, you know, one of the different bars or cocktail bars in particular around Vegas, because they've got a promotion. Anything else about the nickel and diming? No, that's probably about it. Again, just be aware of it. Just be prepared that, you know, you're going to have to work harder for your rewards and your bonuses, but they're still there, still very much, you know, part of the culture of Vegas. It's just changing times more than anything else. So downtown is one of the reasons we like downtown so much. Is, you know, it is a little bit cheaper than the Strip. It feels, you know, it's nice to be able to sort of walk up and down a little bit more. Sometimes walking up and down the Strip when it's busy, you know, and you're having to sort of walk in and out, up and down through the casinos, because it's a bit of a sort of snake's tail. Whereas at least in the Strip, it's a bit more of a straight run. Is a little nicer. Great places to eat downtown. Again, great choice of, you know, hotels, you know, from cheap options to historical options like the Al Cortez to, you know, the new upscale ones like Circa and the D. So there's something there for everyone. Again, you know, good bargains to have. The slots are a little bit looser, I think, generally downtown than they are on the Strip. So from gambling wise, it's not too bad. So, you know, as we've been doing now for the past couple of visits, we tend to sort of split the holiday at least 50-50 between downtown and the Strip to try and get the best of both worlds. And like I say, the El Cortez is where we've stayed the past few times, and we're still not seeing, you know, any reason not to do that. The only downside of being in the El Cortez is there is no pool. But as you'll have seen in the video, the hideout pool at the Golden Nugget has become a favourite of ours. You know, it's an adults only pool. Service there has always been good. It's, you know, it's not quiet because there's always music playing, but it's not as busy as the pool downstairs by the Shark Tank, which is more family orientated, and that's absolutely fine. You can still go out and, you know, go through the Shark Tank on the slide from the hideout pool if that's what you want to do. You just have to be prepared for the walk up the stairs to get back, if that's the case. But we'd certainly do that. You know, for a day, it's pretty good value for money. We've ifed and hard about doing the Circus Stadium swim, but I'm not a huge American sports fan. There's not really much to watch in there, and probably not you know, that much reason for going there. If we went another time of the year when it might have been a little bit quieter, and it's not spring break, maybe we'll spend a day there at some point. But for now, so the Golden Nugget, the hideout pool, is our preferred downtown venue, and we'll probably stick with that for now. You'll have seen, you know, we've been to a few other places now to eat downtown. I say we tried the Strat this time around rather than Oscars as our premium dining experience on this particular trip, which is very nice. You know, it's a fantastic restaurant. The food was very good, service was excellent, and the views are, quite stunning. If we'd have been a little bit more lucky with the sunset, probably even a little bit better. But you make the most of what you have on the day, and it was still more than good enough. Would I go again? Probably wouldn't rush there to some extent. I think Oscars is still, probably a little bit easier to, and is an excellent venue to get to, particularly if you can get a window seat at Oscars, so you can look down at the Strip. That's still a really good place. But there's lots of other places to go. Evil Pie, we really enjoy that place. It's convenient, it's easy, and the quality of the pizza in there is excellent. So again, there's plenty of different choices, plenty of different eats around the place. So downtown gives a good set of options as anywhere on the Strip, as you'd expect. Strip itself, again, as I've said, more entertainment focused. Still, excellent choice of hotels. Park MGM is our favourite, mainly because of the no smoking. Coming from the UK, it is quite, how can you say, becomes apparent quite quickly when you go into the smoking venue, shall I say. You're not used to it anymore, being in the UK since we had the smoking ban. But yeah, certainly sort of walking around, and then the reminder in the morning with the smell of smoke on your clothes that it's been a number of years since that's been an issue. But again, the venues are very clean. It's not as prevalent as it used to be anyway. So yeah, no reason not to go. Just it always feels a little bit fresher in Park MGM. We just like the vibe there. We did enjoy the Nomad Tower, although the room was quite dark. I think trying to go for that English oak or English wood type vibe. I think they were trying to go in there as to show the sophistication. I'm not quite sure, but it was dark. Where we've been in the Park MGM towers, they've been a little bit lighter. So while we've enjoyed the Nomad, and the pool at the Nomad was very, very nice, again, I probably wouldn't necessarily think about spending the extra for a Nomad room over and above just the general Park MGM rooms. I think we had a stay well suite, last time we were there, and that was more than adequate. So we might have a look at that. What else did we get up to? Well, we did Area 15. That was nice. Again, Arts District. Really want to go back there and spend some more time when I've got a bit more leisure, and maybe more at the weekend when it would be a little bit busier. Food and drink down there. I think some of the boutique shops they'll have down there as well will be well worth a walk around. So certainly we'll go back down there. Absolutely, love the sort of little bit of time that we did have down there. We had a hour and a half or something like that between all the other things we were trying to squeeze in. But well worth a trip out again off the Strip. It's a bit cheaper. Food, has excellent quality for what it is. No complaints there. But it does still feel a little bit, like I said, we nipped over to Fontainebleau. I can stick with that pronunciation for now. That is a bit like Genting's World just feels a little bit in no man's land a little bit, even though, they've got the Sphere not a million miles away, and Circus is still there. It just feels a little bit, in between downtown and the Strip, which it is, but there's just not, a compelling, reason to walk, if you will, sort of down and up, particularly at night time. I think there's still a little bit of a worry about that, but that, for me personally, it's not really an issue. I think Kirsten feels more nervous about it than I do, and that's fine. Like I say, we can catch a taxi between the venues with a bit of planning. We did use the Juice bus a couple of times this trip. Again, it's a good, cheap way of getting up and down the sort of main Strip downtown, up to the top. Was quite busy, we thought, this time. Busier than it's been, I think, the past when we've been on Vegas. Now, whether that's just a trend, people again just using it as a convenient option, and it's caught on more than it used to be. It's more acceptable now to use the bus than taxi everywhere. I don't know, but yeah, still a good way of getting up and down the strip. I'd still use it myself, rather than, taxis all the time if I could, and if it was too hot to walk. We did the designer outlets again. Well, designer outlet, we still found those very good value for money, particularly the sports apparel shops. So Under Armour, Nike, you can normally find some good bargains to be had in those shops, and the choice of apparel is slightly different from in the UK, and to some extent I think better sometimes than what we have as a choice here in the UK. So always enjoy a visit to those shops. Always get 2 or 3 bargains to bring home. So definitely recommend, a trip out to those if you've never been before. It's worth it to try and grab a couple of bargains to bring home. Just make sure you've got some space in your suitcases for that. Anything else really to say? Taxis, we've used Uber in the main. Again, there's still a lot of autonomous taxi noise being made about in Vegas, but I think there's a couple who should be finishing trialing very soon. They weren't available as yet, but which is a bit of a shame, because I'd have certainly probably given it a go for the experience if they had have launched in time. Being trundled up and down the strip in a robot taxi would be quite interesting, to say the least. But that's going to be for another future trip. Gambling wise, where do we go? So I can't complain. The hand pay I was able to get, more than made up for the week of other gambling. It turned us into, a positive net return home, which was very good. Even sort of using the winnings to pay the remainder of the hotel bill at Park MGM, still left us a little bit in profit coming home, which was fantastic. But they are, in terms of gambling now, for those of you who sort of have been watching a little bit, the games that are being produced now, the mechanics, particularly the progressive bonus rounds and features, they are now very, very prevalent. I mean, the graphics and the audio quality of the games themselves is now, top notch. It's really taken a leap forward, but you are now looking for, progressive chances to hit, a bonus round rather than a line hit or anything else to really, get a gambling win now. And again, the mechanic where, is the dish full, or is the rocket, ready to launch type mechanic. It's really one sort of encouraging to keep putting money in to chase that, I'm so close now, or, it's building up, it's going to hit soon, which is not actually the way the mechanics work. It always makes me smile a little bit in terms of, people who should know better, in terms of some of the vlogs, and stuff like that we watch on YouTube. It should hit, or it's going to hit now, or it's the right time in the right place. I think combination with gambling now in Vegas, the progressives will hit when the randomizer decides that it's going to hit, and the graphics on the front of the machines aren't necessarily always an indication of those. I mean, there are some, this bonus must hit before XYZ type things that you can have, but again, what actual number they're going to hit is random. The game's decided that well in advance of you sitting down at it, and you've just got to be there, playing on the right, denom, at the right time for the randomizer to hit. So slapping the buttons, pressing the buttons. Again, it's that nanosecond or millisecond when the randomizer generates a number that will generate a bonus or a payout. It's just what you've got to be there for. You can see lots of people are still, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, because it's an indication maybe that the game's been well played, in terms of the pots. For example, the Madam Wong, flaming pots. You can sort of walk around that and see it, but how soon it's going to pay, even if it's a full pot. You could sit down there and put another $50 through it, and still not hit the flaming pots bonus, and then walk away. 2 minutes later, somebody will hit it, or somebody else will sit there and put another £50 in it and still not hit it. It will hit when it will hit. It's, it gives you a view that, the machine's been well played, but no real correlation in terms of when it's due to pay. So again, I think the advice now, particularly for casual gambling reasons, have a budget, stick to a budget, play the games that you like to play or that you fancy playing, but don't chase the pots, as Cowboy Slots often advises on his channel. There's no guarantee of a win. Whenever that bonus win is, it'll hit when it hits, and you'll either be lucky or you won't. Certainly they're entertaining enough, but you just got to be prepared that you could sort of sit in there and sink $50 or $100 through a machine, and only get small line hits and never really hit bonus. There's no guarantee of that, so just be aware of that. I think that's the direction Vegas is going into, and again, from economies and everything else, the casinos themselves are probably trying to make more margin on the games than they used to be, particularly if numbers are down. They're going to have to do that, so be aware. Hopefully you find gambling on the machines just for fun, not for profit. We still haven't sort of bridged out very far in terms of other machines. I don't mind a game of roulette. I still haven't. I've got a theoretical appreciation of craps, but I just don't see the attraction of it myself. So roulette, blackjack, I think the odds are that short. And again, like a lot of the tables now, there's that much side betting that you've got to invest in really to make any win meaningful enough. 3-2 odds on a blackjack is next to nothing, based on how often you're going to hit one of those. So unless you're doing the side bets to get double aces or something like that as well on top of that, which has got increased odds, again, it's a bit of a fool's errand, I tend to find. But if that's your thing, that's your thing. It's just not a thing I particularly fancy. So anything else? I think I mentioned the sort of hotels and nickel and diming. I was quite surprised at the Virgin planes there and back, whether that was an effect of flying from Manchester rather than Heathrow this time around. But the two planes we were on, certainly the first one did feel quite tired. The second one tired, not as tired as the first one, but again, just not probably what I would have expected from the Virgin fleet. To some extent, again, the Virgin staff are fantastic. They really make the flight, and to be fair to them, they get us there and back safely enough without any hiccups or delays on these particular flights. I can't complain from that. It was just one of those things, particularly with the Virgin brand, you just expected maybe a little bit more, but again, whether that's just bad luck on our part in terms of timing, in terms of what was on rotation, or whether again it was just a slight bit of financial pressures on Virgin. Not quite sure. Wouldn't stop us flying Virgin again, but I think I'd probably be tempted to go down to Heathrow and just double check whether that experience is more solid flying out to the main terminals in Heathrow rather than here in Manchester. But that's a difference between an hour's drive up the road for us to get to an airport, or half a day to get to an airport before the flight. So would we go to Vegas again? Absolutely. Do I have any plans to go to Vegas? Not at the moment. This will probably certainly be the last international holiday we have in 2025. I think for the rest of this year it'll be using Wilberforce here to do a couple of adventures before the weather sets in too much for winter. We are looking at perhaps going back to America next year in 2026, maybe doing a road trip. We haven't done one in America for a little while, and there's a few places still I would like to see, particularly more in the south. So Atlantic City might be an option for us next time to go and visit. Having watched Boardwalk Empire a number of years ago and thoroughly enjoyed that series, I think I'd like to spend some time just having a stroll up and down the boardwalk at Atlantic City. And like I say, there's still a reasonable choice of gambling there, so maybe just as a slightly different venue to give me a compare and contrast to Vegas, and go to Atlantic City instead. And then sort of maybe from there sort of travel down. Still haven't been, I've flown through Washington for work before, but never visited Washington DC. So it'd be nice to go and visit Washington, particularly Smithsonian Museum. I'd be quite like a day or half a day, depending on who wins that particular argument or how long that's going to be. And then say maybe Nashville, Memphis, those sort of places, and then sort of look back is sort of the rough itinerary we've spoken about during our time in Vegas. So that's a rough outline of a plan for 2026. Again, we'll have to do some work to see what we can do in terms of reward flight bonuses or hotel bonuses between now and again to try and reduce the overhead and take as much advantageous of anything free that's going in the meantime as we possibly can. Again, those the Virgin and BA points, there's been quite a few changes to those over the past few years. They're not as generous as they used to be. Again, for economic reasons, the money's not there for them to be able to sort of pass on huge savings to us, even as regular flyers. So it's just the way the world's going. But shop smart. So we'll have a good look, and anything we can take advantage of, we will do. So that's really the main summary of what's been bouncing around my head as we've been in Vegas. So absolutely enjoyed it. Definitely would go back again. But the world's a big place, and there's certainly some other places to go to as well, to try and visit and tick off the bucket list, so to speak. So no immediate plans to go back to Vegas, but you never know. Something might drop, another opportunity might come along, and certainly we'll go back again. So watch the space. If anything changes, you'll hear about it on the channel. But thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the videos. If you have, please like and subscribe. Let me know, if you enjoyed anything in particular in the video post. If there's any questions you've got about anything that I've said, or anything in particular that we visited, drop it in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them as best I can, as quickly as I can. But for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you hopefully in a few weeks from Wilberforce, somewhere in the north of England. But for now, take care. Have a great day.